Hey everybody, my name is Jake Labhart with Extremist Performance. Hopefully you enjoyed the last video where we talked about the specifics of building a program for law enforcement and special operations units and why it's beneficial just to make sure we're on top of our training. Today we're going to talk about the different approaches you can take when you build a specific program. So one of the things we do at Extremist Performance is we make sure we add intensity modifiers. Right now, especially with everything that's going on, we use intensity modifiers a lot to make sure we're training at that high level. The other reason, whenever we're just going into a training cycle or we're back on our regular schedule in a weight room, we use it specifically for adding a firm foundation. So we make sure we're moving well, but with those intensity modifiers allow us to be able to do that. The other thing we do is whenever we get back on that regular cycle of training, we can use all these intensity modifiers as supplementary work, and we'll go through that a little bit more today. So first one we're going to talk about is AMRAP. As many rounds as possible is what that acronym stands for. So we're going to give a circuit that maybe is a little bit deceptive, and then we're going to give it for an allotted amount of time, and you're just going to complete that circuit inside of it. So this is good because it shows us some intrinsic motivation for the operator. And then the other thing is it really applies to what operators do in sometimes short bursts that turn into a longer amount of time. And it allows us to work through the early energy system, the glycolytic system, into the aerobic system that our body uses for energy. Next thing we're going to talk about is time under tension. This one's really important for injury prevention, but it also allows for very focused specific muscle groups. So if we're looking at a bicep curl, we do a 5-second down, 5-second hold at its weakest point, and then a 5-second up. So that allows us to, one, not cheat, but really hammer the bicep. So we can do that for a lot of different muscle groups. Next one is pyramid. A lot of people are familiar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It allows us to get some supplementary work in, but in higher volume. And then a popular one right now is HIIT, high intensity interval training. We do a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. And so this is another one. The lactate system. Lactate is what allows our body to kind of hit that wall and then feel sore the next day. HIIT really impacts that. So we hit the lactate system pretty quick. The more we train that, the better we perform later on. The final one we're going to talk about is oxidative. So this is one that people aren't quite as familiar with, but it's 60 seconds on and 30 seconds off. This is good because we can really hammer a specific body part, but it turns into an aerobic workout. So we hit that longer, more functional capacity. All right, now that we've talked about some of the intensity modifiers, let's talk about rest times and then sets and rep schemes. So rest should really range from 1 to 4 minutes depending on what you're doing. Conditioning, lower. If you're trying to do power, strength should be on the higher end. It really should be functional. Next thing is with the sets and rep schemes. So if we're looking at conditioning, we can do anywhere from 12 to 15 reps for maybe 2 to 4 sets. If we're looking at power, we're looking at maybe 1 to 3 reps with a lower percentage of weight, but really we want to stay under 15 total reps. So if you do 3 reps, don't do more than 5 sets for that total of 15 reps. So when we look at power, we want to choose a weight that we can move faster, so we're making sure that power is explosive. When we look at strength, we want to look at 1 to 5 reps in 2 to 5 sets. Again, we're wanting to really make sure our rest is good, so we're able to put maximal effort and really impact that muscle group. And last one we're going to talk about is agility. That should be on the lower end. Definitely don't go over 12. We normally say 6 to 12. And as we talked about in the previous video, agility is very important. Speed, power, change of direction. And so again, 6 to 12, stay on that lower end. All right, to make sure we're maximizing our performance, the other things we really have to cover are warm up and cool down. So first one I'm going to say is very, very important is the warm up. People commonly miss it. They don't do it. I'm guilty of it as well. However, dynamic warm-up has been shown by research to not only keep you safer injury-wise, but it also helps you perform at a higher level. So this is a really important one of how you build it as well. Stay with me. At the very end, I'm going to give you a link for you to be able to go and see how we do ours. Again, there's not a one and only way. However, we do a really good job of this. Some of the things we try to make sure that we do is our dynamic warm-up is increasing blood flow. We go from small to large. So if you start off just doing some light jumping jacks and you get all the way to where you're doing full-blown sprints in the warm-up, that's good. And then the last thing we try to make sure we do is we prep for whatever we're doing that day. So if you're doing some heavy squats, make sure that you're getting some body weight squats, you're doing some jumping jacks, you're doing some running prior to because your legs are going to be involved. Something people commonly ask me is, hey, should I do some static stretching before the workout? Do not do that. You're increasing your chance of injury. Think of the rubber band example. If you take a rubber band that's cold, you stretch it, let go, it gets stuck there. It's not quite what happens to muscle. However, if you go and stretch it when it's cold and then you ask it to maximally perform, you're increasing that chance of injury. The other thing people commonly ask, should I do foam rolling before or after? The whole point of foam rolling is to increase blood flow to that area. So if you do it before, that's totally okay. You're increasing blood flow to that area, getting it going. If you do it after, it's also okay. It's taking blood flow to that area and it's getting rid of some of those bad chemicals that may be post-workout. Next thing is recovery. So it needs to be in there. Sometimes as simple as just walking. You don't have to go from 100 miles an hour to bam, go get in your car. Walk around, just cool down a little bit. It's better for your body for moving those chemicals out for a better recovery. Next thing we're going to talk about is injury prevention. This is something we do a good job of within Extremist Performance. Again, having a physical therapy background, we try to make sure that we have injury prevention supplemented into our programming. So there is research out there that shows the most common injuries to law enforcement and special operations units. So we try to take that data and then turn around and add supplementary work that is not only protecting the operator, but also allows you to maximize performance. One of the big things we see that people miss are the protagonist-antagonist ratio. So more commonly I see is push to pull. We like to push to the bench press, and then guys forget to make sure we're getting our pulls, our rows, whatever. So we get in this posture, we throw on kit, it gets worse. Now you're increasing your chance of injury. All right, so now that we've talked about all these ways to maximize performance, how do we apply them and where you currently are? Some teams are still full going in the gym. Some teams are at home. Regardless, whichever one you are, we've talked about some of the intensity modifiers for you to be able to progress, regress, and then just build your programming around that. The other thing is if you are at home, if you still need resistance, get creative. Use your plate carrier. Take milk jugs, fill them up 3/4 of the way so they slosh around, so it makes you have to balance and hit some of those stabilizers. Use ammo cans. Take ammo in and out, sand in and out, whatever it is. Be creative when you're building these programs. Just make sure they're very specific to you as a special operations unit. All right, so we're going to wrap up the video here. Again, my name is Jake Labhart within Extremist Performance. Hopefully you've enjoyed the last two videos. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do is go to trainheroic.com and create an account. I'll put the link in the below with my contact information. This does not cost any money. You don't have to put credit card information, anything like that. I want you to go in, log in, create an account, and then send me the email address that you use to log in. I will then in turn add you to our account so you can see what a dynamic warm-up looks like, how we do our recovery, and all the different approaches we use to make sure maximize performance. This is very, very important for also the third video, because in the third video, you're gonna have to go in, we're gonna have a full week of programs for you. It'll have examples of the exercises, and you'll be able to see how we use those intensity modifiers in our programming. Again, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next week.